Hey guys, Chanko, two turbo, two-time Muay Thai world professional champion, and scary dream of Dillon Danis. Strašný kašmar Dillona Danisa.
Even before the main event got underway, the night took a dramatic turn. A heated brawl broke out in the crowd, involving Dillon Danis and members of Khabib's team, immediately sending a shockwave through the arena. This all happened before Islam and JDM even had a chance to step into the octagon. So by the time the actual fight began, the atmosphere was already electric, and the events that followed only added to the night's intensity. When Dana White addressed the incident, he was surprisingly direct, placing the blame squarely on himself. He explained that just before the main card, security alerted him that Dillon Danis had moved into the fighter seating area, away from his assigned spot. They asked if they should remove him, but Dana made the call to let it go, simply because Danis had a valid ticket. It was a decision he admitted he regretted the moment the brawl erupted.
This is the fight game. Crazy stuff happens all the time, especially behind the scenes. But I was right there on press row when that crazy brawl broke out with Dillon Danis and the member of Khabib's team and stuff. Can you just tell us how disappointed you were to see that and any insight into the fallout?
I blame myself for that, actually. They came back and told me right before I walked out for the main card that Dillon Danis was here and he was moving around sitting in fighter seats and not sitting in his own seat that he had a ticket. And they said, do you want us to throw him out of here? And I said, he has a ticket? And I said, yeah. And
Dana, it turns out, the security warning was even more specific. Dana mentioned they told him members of the other team wanted to confront Danis and were only a few rows away. Still, he allowed Danis to stay, with staff keeping an eye on him. The one thing Dana says he didn't account for was the large, concentrated section of Islam's supporters sitting right there. So, when the chaos started, he knew exactly what was happening. After witnessing the fallout, he made his decision crystal clear. Dillon Danis is now banned and will not be attending any future UFC events.
And you know, they told me, they said, Masvidal said he's going to fuck him up on sight. And I said, well, where's Masvidal sitting? He said, well, he's 6 or 7 rows away from Masvidal. I said, well, if the guy has a ticket, let him sit in his seat and let him do what he's doing and keep an eye on him. It never even crossed my mind, as stupid as this could be, that the entire Muslim Brotherhood was here tonight in the first 5 rows for Islam. And as soon as it broke out, I was over on the other side and I go, fuck, I know exactly what that is. I knew it. And yeah.
Dana White also pointed out the irony in the situation. He noted that Dillon Danis often claims the UFC won't sign him because he's considered too much trouble. And Dana felt that tonight's events spoke for themselves. He firmly confirmed Danis would not be back. Interestingly, even when security asked if he wanted Danis arrested, Dana declined, chalking it up to the fight business. He felt he could have prevented it, so he wasn't going to press charges. As for anyone else involved, he wasn't aware of any arrests, but couldn't speak for certain.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's wanted badly to come in this company, and he said you guys don't want to sign him because he makes too much trouble. I guess point made.
Well, that and a lot of other reasons,
yeah.
But yeah, you'll never see him at another fight. So they called me from downstairs and they said, we got him down here. Do you want to press charges and have him arrested? And I said, no, we don't want to press charges. This is the fight business, man. You know how I feel about this shit. You know, and I could have prevented this tonight, and I messed up.
Yeah. Anyone else get arrested or anything like that in the fall?
Not that I'm aware of, no. Okay. We're not pressing charges. I'm not speaking for MSG or anybody else that was involved in this thing. I don't know, but we, the UFC, are not pressing charges again.
Following Dana White's explanation, Islam Makhachev provided his own perspective on what caused the brawl. He attributed it to a long history of trash talk from Dillon Danis directed at him and his team. From Islam's point of view, if you consistently show that level of disrespect, you eventually have to answer for it. He felt Danis had been crossing the line for some time, and this confrontation was the direct outcome. In fact, Islam believed the situation was so severe that he stated Danis shouldn't even be allowed in the country.
When you talk about someone like last
5 years. Last 5 years, you talk about someone. When you meet them, you have to answer what you said, you know. And today, I don't think he answered, you know. And he still say a lot of bad things about our team. And today, he coming and somebody just meet him. He talk about this guy's bad, and today the guys just meet him. That's it.
Dana said he's banned from UFC events for life, so he'll never be back to one.
He have to ban from this country also.
Dillon Danis, on the other hand, offered his own account of the long-standing tensions. He explained that things had been escalating for weeks, tracing it back to when he posted photos of Khabib drinking, which clearly upset Khabib's camp. He also referenced the history before the Khabib versus Conor fight, where there were heated moments by the fence. When the two sides finally came face-to-face at this event, things erupted, and security had to step in as punches were thrown. Danis framed his actions as simply defending his teammates, stating he wouldn't allow them to be disrespected without a response.
Months or weeks before the fight happened, they were commenting on my picture because I was posting like Khabib drinking whiskey and stuff like that, and that for them was like crazy. So I kind of knew it was gonna be hostile, and like I knew like all this was going down. And then during the fight, there was one time against the fence when he was against the fence and he was like saying to me, like talking to me. So I'm like, all right, and we were talking back and forth, and like it was what it was. And then after the fight, he came over, he pointed at me, and I was like going like this, and I was like, come here, or whatever. And then he threw the mouthpiece, and I said like something to him, and he said something back, and then also he just jumped. And I was like, all right, well, now it's a fight. But he jumped in such a weird way. It was like the weirdest thing. So I didn't know what to block. I didn't know what to block a kick or
Like,
yeah, it was like I'm like this because I don't know. He jumped with his feet in the air. So he landed, and then we got into that brawl, and then security's holding me, and then Islam and all of them are punching me in the back of the head. Yeah, you know, you're not gonna disrespect my boy and then try to come at me, and then, you know, I'm gonna always defend my boy's back.
With the main event now over and Islam securing the victory, the focus shifted to the fight itself. Dana White was one of the first to react, reflecting on his long career in the sport. He pointed out that while many fighters are hyped as future champions, very few actually live up to that potential. What's different here, he said, was the prediction from Khabib's father, who foresaw not only his son's dominance, but also that Islam would follow the same path. For Dana, watching it all unfold exactly as predicted was incredible, serving as a powerful tribute to Khabib's legacy and Islam's own journey.
And I was saying to Khabib, I've been in the fight business since I was 20 years old, and all I ever hear is, this guy's going to be a world champion, this guy's going to do this guy's going to do that. Everybody says the same thing, and almost nobody ever does or makes it. His father said, Khabib will go in and dominate, and he'll have a run, and when he's done, and then Islam will come in behind him and do the same. And, you know, holy shit, it played out exactly the way his father said, which is pretty amazing. I don't know what you asked me, but I hope I answered your question.
No, it's just
Building on Dana's comments, Michael Bisping offered his take on Islam's performance against Jack Della Maddalena. He called it nothing short of total domination from the opening bell to the very end. Bisping described it as a one-way street where Islam flawlessly executed his strategy. The key, he pointed out, was the wrestling. Islam controlled every single round with takedowns that seemed to get easier as the fight went on, effectively giving Jack no room to mount any kind of offense.
Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena. So, as I said, it was domination. It was an annihilation. It was one-way traffic from start to finish, okay? We knew Islam was going to go out there and try to out-wrestle him. That's what he did. He was very successful. He took him down every single round, and the longer the fight went, the easier.
Bisping pointed out that Jack looked almost stuck, moving sluggishly and finding it impossible to generate any offense, even as his corner urged him on. Despite taking a lot of damage from strikes and kicks, Jack showed incredible heart and refused to quit. What stands out is Islam's sheer dominance, which is reflected in his 28-1 record and the fact that he's now tied Anderson Silva's legendary 16-fight win streak. While Bisping noted Silva's run might have been more notable for its title fights and finishes, he made it clear that what Islam has accomplished is still absolutely extraordinary.
Jack according to his coach, was stuck in the mud. He wasn't moving the feet quite as much. And at the end of every round, his coach, and I'm sure they have a great relationship, so they understand each other, should I say. But the coach was just giving him a hard time. He was like, what are you doing, mate? Don't sit there in half guard. Don't do this, don't do that. Come on, you got to fight him. You're stuck in the mud. He was just giving him crap every single time. And Jack, as the fight was going on, was just looking more and more deflated, dejected, defeated. DC and Rogan were saying that he was grimacing. He was grimacing in pain. I'm sure that some of the elbows and the punches and the calf kicks were all hurting. But I think for the most part, it was just the fact that he couldn't do anything. He was getting taken down. He was getting controlled. He did do a good job of not giving up, okay? Because, listen, Islam is a tremendous fighter, okay? He's got a record now of 28-1. He now ties Anderson Silva for a 16-fight win streak. I still think Anderson's was more impressive because 12 of those 16 fights were title fights, and that is more impressive. And of course, we saw some wild knockouts from Anderson Silva, but still, I'm not taking away from Islam Makhachev what he's achieved.
Bilal Muhammad also weighed in, calling Islam's performance a complete masterclass. He said he knew that if the fight went to the ground, it would be a very difficult night for Jack. And that's exactly what happened. Islam did a great job mixing in his striking, landing sharp calf kicks. But he never strayed from the core game plan developed with Khabib. Even though Jack defended well, you could see him getting more and more drained by the unique, relentless pressure that comes from grappling with these Dagestani fighters. By staying disciplined, Islam secured the victory and became the first double champ for Team Khabib, solidifying their legacy.
Before the fight, I said it. If it hits the ground, it's going to be a long night for Jack. It was a very long night. But Islam did really good on the feet as well. He implemented that calf kick very early, mixing it up. Khabib didn't let him get out of the game plan. He was yelling at him, do not strike, get your takedowns in, right? You get into those modes sometimes where your striking's landing, you're looking good, you're hurting him on the feet, and then you want to go all on the feet. Islam did a beautiful job sticking to it, strategizing. Jack did a good job of not getting submitted on the feet, on the ground. Islam had some spots, his good chokes. Jack just really had nothing for him. Probably by the third or fourth round, I don't know, he just looked down in the corner, like he really had nothing left. Probably never felt that before. Like I said, when DDP fought Hamza, if you never grapple with a guy from that region, from Dagestan, and you start feeling for the first time, you don't want it to be in the cage because it's different. It's a different squeeze, different feel, different top pressure. Islam did an amazing job in there, sticking to it and then winning. Team Khabib, Javier Mendez, they get their first double champ in that team, and that's been one of the most dominant teams in UFC history. So that's legend.
Next, Robert Whittaker offered his own technical breakdown of Islam's strategy. He pointed to the calf kicks right at the start of the fight, noting how Islam did significant damage in just the first minute. These kicks immediately compromised Jack's base, which in turn limited his ability to move, strike, and defend effectively. While the wrestling was obviously a huge factor, Whittaker emphasized that it was Islam's timing that was truly sensational. And despite any questions about his cardio at a higher weight class, he kept up a relentless pace, leaving Jack to struggle with the constant pressure.
Went straight for the calf kick within the first minute, straight for the calf kick, started doing some real damage to that leg early on. Obviously, and obviously the wrestling was always going to be a big factor in this fight. Yeah. Islam does what Islam does. But I think the leg attacks just took Jack's foundation away. You know, his grounding in that tight-knit boxing that he likes to use. It affected not only his movement when he was striking, but his defense, his backing up against cage, his sprawl ability, all of it. Not to say though, Islam's timing was just sensational. Perfect. Sensational. And then you also saw, so I mentioned earlier when we first started that Islam's cardio was in question, just him moving up. How was he going to go throughout the thing? It seemed like, even though Islam was being very physical to get these takedowns, Jack was losing that battle of attrition, being on his back. You know, he had grimaces the entire time. The pressure of Islam.
Demetrius Johnson added to the analysis, focusing on how Islam masterfully controlled the space in the octagon. He explained that Jack was never given a moment to reset. Every attempt to build offense or shoot for a takedown was immediately neutralized. This constant pressure dictated the fight's pace, keeping Jack off balance. An MMA analyst did highlight a brief moment of resistance in the second round, where Jack stuffed a takedown, but it was a fleeting success. Beyond that, the consensus is that this win at 70 pounds firmly plants Islam in the conversation for one of the greatest of all time. Meanwhile, Ali Abdelaziz took a different angle, criticizing Jack's coach, Craig Jones, for a game plan he felt was ineffective, pointing to failed submission attempts. But Abdelaziz saved his highest praise for Islam, placing him in the GOAT debate for his integrity and clean competitive history, which he feels sets him apart from other legends. Now we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on everything that happened, from the pre-fight brawl to the fight itself? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to subscribe for more.